Hello, welcome to Skedline. It is Wednesday,
Today
January
is an
15th.
important day
My
because
name is
today is
Nimrit
the
Singh,
day
and this is what
that
is
we
making
name
news
the
today.
managers
House
who
of
go to the
Representatives
floor
Speaker
to
Nancy
pass the
Pelosi
resolution
has
to
named the seven
transmit
lawmakers who will
the
prosecute
articles of
U.S.
impeachment
President Trump's
to the
impeachment
Senate.
trial. Pelosi says the seven were picked based on their experience as lawmakers who had worked litigators and had shown a high level of comfort in courtroom settings. There are two articles of impeachment against President Trump. The first is based on Trump's multiple requests to Ukraine to publicly declare criminal probes to Democratic presidential frontrunner Joe Biden. The second involves Trump's refusal to cooperate with the House's proceedings, and this directive that top officials toe the same line. Chief Justice John Roberts will preside over the impeachment proceedings. Trump is the third president in U.S. history to face a Senate impeachment trial. Senate Leader Mitch McConnell says he expects the trial to start next Tuesday. Meanwhile, Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives say they will include new evidence when they send the formal impeachment charges against the president to the Senate today. President Democrats said they would include foreign records and other documents provided by Florida businessman Lev Parnas when they make their case that Trump abused his power by pursuing Ukraine to investigate. A political rival, Democrat former President Joe Biden. Parnas was an associate of Trump's personal attorney Rudy Giuliani, who says Parnas helped him investigate Biden. The Ukraine-born Parnas has pleaded not guilty to federal campaign finance violations in a separate criminal case. In trade news, US President Donald Trump and Chinese Vice Premier Liu He are expected to sign Phase 1 of the China deal at the White House today. This signing comes just after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced seven impeachment managers for the president's looming impeachment trial in the Senate. President Trump has said he expects to travel to Beijing to begin talks on Phase 2 at a later date. Now over to Jack Anderson with sports.
Thanks, Nimrit. Here's what's new in sports. We have breaking news in the NHL. The Vegas Golden Knights have fired head coach Gerard Gallant. Gallant was the very first coach of the franchise and led the team all the way to the Stanley Cup final in 2017, their inaugural season. Gallant has been replaced by former San Jose Sharks head coach Peter Dubois, who was fired from the Sharks in December. Gallant is yet to address the situation. 5 Canadian teams were in action last night. The Toronto Maple Leafs bounced back against the New Jersey Devils with a 7-4 win. Austin Matthews had his second career hat trick in the game, his first since his debut game in 2016. For the Devils, Blake Coleman led the way with a hat trick of his own. Staying in Ontario, the Ottawa Senators were at home for a close loss against the Chicago Blackhawks last night, losing 3-2 in OT. Chicago stars Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane combined for 5 points, while former Leaf Connor Brown stood out for the Sens with 2 points of his own. In an all-Canadian matchup, the Winnipeg Jets took on the visiting Vancouver Canucks. Goaltender Connor Hellebuyck set a franchise record for career shutouts with the Jets in a 4-0 victory. Forward Kyle Connor continued his breakout season for the Jets with 2 goals and an assist. Moving west, the Edmonton Oilers were at home against the Nashville Predators on Tuesday. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl were dominant once again, with each star scoring 3 points for the Oilers. Their efforts lifted the team to a 4-2 win. In soccer news, Joe Waterman became the first Canadian Premier League player to be transferred to a major league on Tuesday. Waterman signed a 2-year contract with the Montreal Impact with options for 2022 and 2023. The defender played in 28 games for the Cavalry FC of the CPL in 2019, helping them finish at the top of the standings. Conor McGregor is back in the octagon this weekend at UFC 246. McGregor will be taking on UFC veteran Donald Cowboy Cerrone in his return. This will be McGregor's first fight since losing to lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov in October of 2018. McGregor was suspended for 6 months following the loss after a brawl broke out between his team and Nurmagomedov's at UFC 229 in Las Vegas. McGregor also faced multiple legal issues in his time off, including an incident where he punched an elderly man in Ireland. He will look to reclaim his status in the octagon Saturday night. Raptors will be back on the court tonight to take on Canadian point guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The two teams met previously in Toronto in late December, with the Thunder winning a razor-thin 98-97 game. Raptors center Marc Gasol will make his return after missing the last 12 games with a hamstring injury. The Raps will be looking to improve to 26 wins in their 40th game. And to the gridiron, a trip to the Super Bowl is on the line this weekend as the AFC and NFC championship games will be held on Sunday. In the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs take on the underdog Tennessee Titans. The Chiefs are coming off a 21-point comeback over the Houston Texans last week. The Titans have been the story of the NFL playoffs as they knocked off the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens and last year's champ, the New England Patriots. The NFC Championship will go down between the Green Bay Packers and San Francisco 49ers. Superstar quarterback Aaron Rodgers will look for his second Super Bowl appearance in his long career, while the 49ers will look to capitalize on home field. And for your Humber Hawks, the men's and women's volleyball teams play at home versus Sheridan tonight. The men will look to maintain their undefeated season, while the women will look to improve to 9-2. The men's team is currently sitting as the number 1 seed in Ontario and number 3 nationally, while the women's team is seeded 3rd provincially and 15th in Canada. That's what's making news now in sports. Back to you, Nimrit.
Thanks, Jack. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has dismissed a proposal for, quote, a new Trump deal amid at resolving a nuclear row. Rouhani says it was a, quote, a strange offer and criticized U.S. President Trump for always breaking promises. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson had called on Tuesday for Trump to replace Iran's 2015 nuclear deal with major problems with his own. New pact to ensure Tehran does not get an atomic weapon. Rouhani repeated Iran's long-standing position that peace can come to the Middle East only when the United States withdraws. Iranians called on social media today for fresh demonstrations a week after the shooting down of a Ukraine passenger plane, Flight 752, seeking to turn off the aftermath of the crash and show a sustained campaign against Iran's leadership. Protesters with students at the front row have staged daily rallies at Tehran and their cities since Saturday. After days of denial, the authorities admitted accidentally bringing down the plane last week, killing all 176 aboard, including 57 Canadians. The military and top officials apologized profusely for the, quote, unforgivable error that brought the plane down and said it would prosecute those to blame in a bill to stop the outrage. Universities and colleges across Canada came together today to honor the victims of a plane crash in Iran, leaving no survivors a week ago. Institutions throughout the country planned a moment of silence earlier today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The Canadian press confirmed at least 86 victims had ties to Canada, many of them being students and professors. Humber College will host community gatherings at both North and Lakeshore campuses tomorrow at 11 a.m. Now over to Madi with weather.
Thanks, Nimrit. Today in Toronto, it's a high of 3 going down to -1 in the evening. Partly cloudy both today and tomorrow. And tomorrow we have a high of -2 and a low of -5. It'll be clearing up Friday, only partly cloudy, just in time for a nice balmy -6 degrees all day long. It'll warm up Saturday with a high of 0 and a low of -5, turning those scattered flurries into slush, so do be careful on your commute. And it'll drop way back down again to high -1 and low -12 in the evening on Sunday. Then bundle up for your morning commute on Monday. We're seeing a high of -8 and a low of -16, so do keep warm. In other news, evacuations are ongoing in the Philippines after the eruption of the Taal volcano on Sunday. The sky continues to be darkened with dust, volcanic ash, and sulfur dioxide. Nearly 44,000 people have evacuated the danger zone, many leaving behind crops and livestock. Despite the relative quiet, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology are still encouraging anyone within range of the volcano to leave immediately, as follow-up eruptions could happen at any time. So far, thankfully, no casualties have been reported. Now, back to Nimrit for more news.
Thanks, Madi. Russia's Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev has announced he is stepping down, giving President Vladimir Putin room to carry out the changes to the government. Medvedev announced his resignation on state TV, sitting next to Putin, who thanked him for his work. who instead Medvedev would take on a new job as deputy of head of Russia's Security Council. 70 Canadian firefighters are headed to Australia to help fight the country's worst bushfires in recent history. This will be the second wave of Canadians helping out in Australia, bringing the number to more than 160 firefighters. About 100 firefighters from the United States and Canada are helping across Australia, with another 140 expected in coming weeks. All elementary and secondary schools are closed today because of a strike by the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation. Cancellations include Co-op, Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, dual credit courses, and extracurricular activities. The Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, spent her Tuesday afternoon visiting a women's center in Vancouver's downtown East Side neighborhood. The center provides a safe space, resources, and advocacy for vulnerable women and children in one of Canada's lowest income neighborhoods. Markle came to discuss issues affecting women in the community. The appearance comes a day after the Duchess and her husband Prince Harry received the green light to step back from their roles as senior royals and split their time between Canada and the UK. Now over to Jacob White with entertainment.
Thank you, Nimrit, and here are today's entertainment stories. Jeopardy brought together its greatest champions to name the ultimate Jeopardy champion. Ken Jennings, James Holzhauer, and Brad Rutter competed against each other in the television special. Jennings was the first to win 3 matches, which earned him the title of Greatest Jeopardy Champion of all time. With the win, Jennings collects the grand prize of $1 million. Rutter and Holzhauer each win $250,000. Jennings became famous after having the longest winning streak in Jeopardy history. Now moving to some music news, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has announced this year's inductees. 9 Inch Nails, the Notorious B.I.G., and Whitney Houston headline the 2020 class. Other nominees include Depeche Mode, the Doobie Brothers, and T-Rex. The 6 acts represent a musically diverse class encompassing everything from 90s industrial, R&B, and hip-hop to 70s glam and soft rock. The induction will take place on May 2nd at Cleveland's Public Hall. Look out for tickets as they go on sale on February 27th. Now, going to some more music news, Mandy Moore announced her return to the music industry after over a decade. The This Is Us star announced via Instagram that there will be an upcoming North American tour beginning in Pittsburgh in March. Moore has released a new single, Save a Little for Yourself, along with a new album entitled Silver Landings. Moore launched her music career back in 1999 and has released 6 albums over that span. She told fans that it feels so good to be stepping assuredly into this next chapter of her life as a woman and as a performer. The album will be released on March 6th. Now for some Canadian news. Canadian pop artist and actress Jan Arden was revealed as the first individual to be inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. She will be inducted during the 2020 Juno Awards in March. During her music career that has spanned 3 decades, Arden has released 14 studio albums and has won 8 Juno Awards. Arden feels honored to be inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. The ceremony will be broadcast live from Saskatchewan. Now, Amazon has unveiled the first cast of actors for its highly anticipated Lord of the Rings television series. The cast includes 2 Game of Thrones veterans, British actors Robert Armayo, who portrayed a young Ned Stark, and Joseph Mawle, who played Ben Stark on HBO's hit show. Others coming to Lord of the Rings include British theater actor Owen Arthur, Australian actor Tom Budge, and Slovak-American actress Emma Horvath. Production is set to begin in New Zealand next month. Now, back to Nimrit.
Thanks, Jacob. That's all the news for Skedline. For more of our coverage, check out our news site, skedline.com. Thank you for watching, and for Skedline News, I'm Nimrit Singh.